just put poopy on my head, poopy on my head. The poopy I do has only one place, and that's on my head. Poopy for me, no poopy for you. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. It's just right for me. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. That's why they call me Poophead. If I put peas on my head, I'd be a peahead. But I put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. And fuck goes from the coast and blacks. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. That's why they call me Poophead. If I put peas on my head, I'd be a peahead. But I put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. And fuck goes from the coast. When I'm feeling down and out, I don't cry, I don't die. I just put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. The poopy I do has only one place, and that's on my head. Poopy for me, no poopy for you. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. It's just right for me. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. That's why they call me Poophead. If I put peas on my head, I'd be a peahead. But I put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. And fuck goes from the coast and blacks. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. That's why they call me Poophead. If I put peas on my head, I'd be a peahead. But I put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. And fuck goes from the coast. When I'm feeling down and out, I don't cry, I don't die. I just put poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. The poopy I do has only one place, and that's on my head. Poopy for me, no poopy for you. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. It's just right for me. Poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head. Poopy on my head. I put the poopy on my head.
specifically looking at, well, a fascinating attempt by TNA that's total nonstop action wrestling to sign a really big name.
Yeah, just before he made that huge return to WWE.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're drawing on a WrestleZone piece from May 23rd, 2025. Bill Pritchard wrote it.
Right.
And our mission for you, listening in, is to kind of unpack how these wrestler negotiations work.
What makes one company maybe more appealing than another?
Yeah, and what ultimately swings the decision for a major star, you know, trying to get inside those strategic choices.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? Like, that CM Punk return to WWE. Were you surprised?
I mean, a little, but also maybe not entirely. Did you ever picture him, say, in a TNA ring?
Well, that's the thing. The timing here is key. Remember when Punk left AEW back in 2023?
Oh, yeah, massive news. Total uncertainty about where he'd land.
Right. And the speculation was just everywhere. It really shows you the kind of gravity a name like CM Punk has.
Yeah.
You know, where he might go was a huge story in itself.
Absolutely. And smack in the middle of all that noise, this really interesting possibility popped up.
The TNA one.
Yeah, Punk may be showing up at TNA's Bound for Glory, which was in Chicago in 2023.
His hometown. That definitely added fuel to the fire, gave it that real what-if feeling.
But it wasn't just fan chatter, was it?
No, not at all. That WrestleZone article mentions how Scott D'Amore, who was a TNA exec then,
Right.
he confirmed it himself in his column, the D'Amore Drop on the Uncrowned.
Yeah.
He said he actually made a real effort to sign Punk.
So not just kicking the tires, a genuine attempt.
Proper pitch, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that. What was D'Amore thinking about Punk at that specific moment? Like, what was his take on the situation?
D'Amore laid out some interesting points. He talked about Punk's age. Going to be 47 this fall, right?
Uh-huh.
And acknowledging that, look, even an amazing WWE run doesn't last forever. There's a clock ticking.
Sure, makes sense.
But what really stood out, I think, was D'Amore observing Phil Brooks, you know, the person, and sensing he was genuinely appreciating being back in WWE.
Like enjoying that chapter.
Yeah, almost like a sense of contentment, maybe, even with the speculation swirling.
That does add a different wrinkle to it, beyond just business. So, okay, D'Amore reaches out. How did that conversation actually happen? What were the nuts and bolts of trying to land that guy?
Well, first off, D'Amore admitted it was a long shot. He was realistic.
Knew the odds.
Yeah, he knew the hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
And he also acknowledged the difference in, well, scale.
Right. TNA isn't WWE in terms of arena size.
Exactly. He said he knew he was asking Punk to work smaller arenas than, you know, what he was accustomed to. Massive difference there.
Okay.
But here's the really interesting part. D'Amore specifically said Punk listened.
Listened. Okay.
And that he seemed interested. That's a pretty significant word choice, isn't it? More than just being polite.
Interested. Definitely implies.
Something caught his attention, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what TNA could have offered.
Maybe creatively. Or maybe the chance to be like the absolute center of that company.
Could be, even knowing his whole history with WWE and maybe wanting to go back there.
Yeah, exactly. And D'Amore also made a point of saying how professional Punk was through it all.
Oh, really?
Said he never big-time TNA once. Handled it like a pro.
That's good to hear. Show some respect for the business, maybe.
I think so. Respect for the different players in the game.
So despite this interest, despite the talks, we all know what happened next.
Yep. Survivor Series, November 2023. CM Punk walks out. Back in WWE, the ultimate outcome.
Right. And, you know, the article touches on this too. His WWE return since then. It's been pretty significant.
Definitely eventful.
He's had to battle through injuries, obviously.
Major ones.
But then he had that really intense personal feud with Drew McIntyre.
That was huge.
And he finally got that WrestleMania main event spot. Las Vegas, 2025. That was a big goal achieved for him, you'd have to imagine.
Hard to argue with that from a WWE career perspective. Checks a big box.
For sure.
So let's connect this back for you listening. What does this whole episode, the TNA talks, the WWE return, tell us about, like, the wrestling landscape, the different appeals?
Yeah, and what was possibly going through CM Punk's head during all this. You've got this top guy.
Who's worked everywhere, basically.
Right. And he's seriously considering a move to a company with a, let's face it, different kind of reach and profile.
Just before going back to the absolute biggest stage.
It really suggests it's not just about the biggest contract, is it?
Seems like more factors are involved.
Yeah, it makes you think about what really motivates performers at that level. Okay, money's big, visibility's big, obviously.
Sure.
But maybe other things matter too, like maybe being the guy somewhere smaller, having more creative say, perhaps.
Or maybe it's about personal connections. Or wanting to help build something specific.
Could be any of that. But in Punk's case, clearly, that pull of WWE, the history there, maybe unfinished business.
That won out in the end.
Seems like it was just too strong a pull to ignore.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then, the main takeaway feels like even though TNA was, operating on a different level at that time, their serious shot at signing a megastar like CM Punk. It really highlights the ambition that's always bubbling under the surface in wrestling.
Definitely. Shows the constant maneuvering, the strategy behind the scenes. It's not just WWE and everyone else standing still.
No, it's way more dynamic.
And it shows you the layers, right? You have the global giants, sure, but then promotions like TNA have their own dedicated fans, their own history, their own goals.
And the fact that someone like Punk even took the meeting was interested.
Yeah, that speaks volumes. It shows there's potential and maybe respect across the board, even for guys who have main evented everywhere.
So here's something to chew on as we finish up. Think about all those different things that might sway a wrestler's choice.
Where to work next?
Yeah. It's clearly not just about the arena size or the TV ratings, is it?
No.
Consider the history of a place, the prestige, the wrestling style they focus on.
Personal relationships within the company, for sure.
And maybe even the kind of legacy they want to leave behind. So, thinking about CM Punk, what do you think was the absolute deciding factor? Why WWE in the end?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably a mix of everything we've talked about. History, goals, maybe just timing. Added fuel to the fire, gave it that real what-if feeling.
But it wasn't just fan chatter, was it?
No, not at all. That WrestleZone article mentions how Scott D'Amore, who was a TNA exec then,
Right.
he confirmed it himself in his column, the D'Amore drop on the Uncrowned.
Yeah.
He said he actually made a real effort to sign Punk.
So not just kicking the tires, a genuine attempt.
Proper pitch, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that. What was D'Amore thinking about Punk at that specific moment? Like, what was his take on the situation?
D'Amore laid out some interesting points. He talked about Punk's age. Going to be 47 this fall, right?
Uh-huh.
And acknowledging that, look, even an amazing Okay, so let's dive into this visual that's really got wrestling fans talking.
Brock Lesnar.
Exactly. You picture him, right? The beast incarnate. Usually that, super short haircut.
Yeah, it's a signature look. Very no nonsense.
Well, these new photos with his wife Sable. They show him with, well, noticeably longer hair. It's a real change.
And it's fascinating how just a visual shift can kick things off, can it? Especially with someone like Lesnar.
Oh, absolutely, because his look is so iconic, so tied to his whole persona.
You immediately start wondering, okay, what does this mean? Is something changing?
Right. And just for context, for anyone maybe not following WWE super closely,
Which, might be a few people.
Brock Lesnar is a massive name, top tier, former world champ in WWE.
Huge draw. Always has been.
He last wrestled SummerSlam, August 2023, against Cody Rhodes.
That felt like quite a definitive moment at the time, actually.
It did. And then, there was all that buzz about him maybe coming back for the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah. The men's Rumble in January seemed like a lock for a while.
But, well, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that is really what we're digging into today. Why he's been gone, what this new look might signal.
Or might not signal.
Exactly.
Wow.
And what our sources, mostly wrestling news sites, are actually saying about where things stand.
We're trying to sort of piece together the reliable info. Yeah. Cut through some of the noise.
That's the mission. Get you up to speed on the key bits without you having to wade through everything yourself.
Because in wrestling, presentation is it's everything. Hair, gear, entrance. It all builds the character, the story.
Totally. So this longer hair, it's not just like a trivial thing for the hardcore fan base.
No way. It's a data point. Something to analyze.
So these photos popped up on, I think, an Instagram account, @BrockLesnarWorldLearn.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's where they surfaced.
And the fan reaction online was, well, pretty immediate, wasn't it?
Oh, instant speculation. Is he coming back? Is this the return look?
It's that visual cue, right? It just feeds the rumor mill.
And you see this all the time. Fans are like detectives, especially when the company itself isn't saying much.
They'll pick apart anything. A haircut becomes a potential clue.
A major clue, potentially.
But, okay, the reason his Rumble return got scrapped and why he's been MIA since SummerSlam, it's heavier than just a hairstyle change.
Yeah, the sources are pretty consistent on this point.
They point directly to reports linking Lesnar, or his name at least, to the ongoing Vince McMahon legal situation, the lawsuit.
Right, the sexual assault and trafficking lawsuit. Lesnar's name reportedly came up in connection with that.
And because of that, WWE has, understandably, just gone completely silent on Brock's status.
Which makes sense. They're likely waiting to see how the legal side plays out. It's a very serious matter.
That corporate silence is loud in itself, isn't it?
Extremely telling. Any official comment right now would be fraught with legal risk. They have to tread so carefully.
So things were quiet, relatively speaking, regarding Brock, until Cody Rhodes dropped his name.
Ah, yes. The Smackdown promo back in April.
Yeah, Cody was doing his thing, talking about lessons learned, mentioning John Cena. And then he specifically says something like, I told Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns the same thing.
About performing best when backed into a corner, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah. And just hearing the name Brock Lesnar in a current WWE promo.
Whoosh. Speculation took off again.
Big time. People immediately thought, okay, maybe the door isn't closed. Maybe things have changed.
It shows how, one line in a script can completely reignite fan hope or debate, whether it was meant as a real hint or just, part of Cody's narrative.
Yeah, was it a tease or just character work?
Exactly, because it tapped right into that existing uncertainty.
But then you have the reports that kind of, pump the brakes on that excitement.
Right. Fightful Select, they're usually pretty plugged in.
They reported that, despite Cody's name drop, WWE currently has no plans to bring Lesnar back.
And crucially, they added there haven't been recent talks behind the scenes about involving him.
So that suggests Cody's line was probably just Cody being Cody, building his own story.
Seems likely. It highlights that gap, between the on-screen show and the backstage business reality. What you see isn't always what's actually happening contractually or legally.
Definitely not. And then Dave Meltzer, another major voice in wrestling journalism.
From the Wrestling Observer.
He basically backed that up.
Yeah.
Said he was told adamantly, apparently, that the whole Lesnar situation, it's in the hands of WWE legal.
Not creative, not management, like Paul Levesque or Nick Khan.
Nope. Meltzer specifically said they wouldn't override the legal team on this.
Which makes complete sense, given the context.
His understanding, according to the report, is that any possible return depends entirely on how that legal case progresses.
And that provides really crucial context, doesn't it? It shifts the whole thing away from just, oh, will they book him, to what are the legal implications?
It shows how much external factors, serious ones, can dictate a performer's career path.
Absolutely. It's not just about storylines anymore.
And it's interesting, the WrestleZone article we looked at, it had other related bits in the sidebar. Kind of paints a picture of Lesnar's shadow, even now.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Well, one piece, pretty recent, like 17 hours ago recent, had Kevin Nash comparing some newly released guy to Lesnar.
Still the benchmark, then, even when he's not around.
Seems like it. And another article, maybe 3 weeks old, mentioned Hulk Hogan revealing some old nickname he had for Brock.
Huh. So even in his absence, his name, his legacy, it's still very much part of the conversation.
Exactly. These aren't about his return, but they show he's still a point of reference, a figure of significance within that world.
That provides some good perspective. He casts a long shadow.
So let's try and tie this all together for you listening. Yes, Brock Lesnar's got this new, longer hair. Yes, it got people talking return.
But, and it's a big but.
His absence since SummerSlam and the scrapped Rumble return, it's tied directly to his name being linked to the Vince McMahon lawsuit.
And the most reliable reports right now, from Fightful, from Meltzer, they strongly suggest WWE has zero immediate plans to bring him back.
The whole thing really seems to be on hold, pending whatever happens with those legal proceedings.
It really does highlight that complex mix in pro wrestling, doesn't it? You've got the spectacle, the characters, the storylines.
Yeah, the stuff we see on TV.
But then underneath, you've got these serious, real-world legal and business factors that can completely change the game. It's a peek behind that curtain.
It really is. Which kind of leads to a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over.
Go on.
How might this whole ongoing legal situation with Vince McMahon continue to ripple outwards? Could it affect other people, other potential returns or roles within WWE down the line?
That's a really good question. It's unlikely to be just about Lesnar, potentially.
Now, what does all this tell us about that business side of wrestling? You know, the side where legal clearances might matter more than main event potential at certain times.
Yeah, it really underscores that it is a business with all the complexities and sometimes uncomfortable realities that come with that. It's definitely more than just what happens between those ropes. Welcome to The Deep Dive. This is where we take sources you send our way and really dig into them, pull out the key stuff. Today, we're jumping into the world of pro wrestling, specifically some recent news around WWE and the wrestler Kylie Ray.
Yeah, that's right. We're working from an article you flagged from WrestleZone.com. It's dated May 23rd, 2025, so pretty fresh.
Very recent.
And it gives a nice little look at Kylie Ray, where she's been, what she just did in the ring, and this kind of quirky personal detail that WWE shared.
Yeah, that hobby part caught my eye. So our plan is to basically walk you through Kylie Ray's recent WWE stuff, give a bit of background, and definitely unpack this surprising hobby reveal.
It's kind of fun. It also makes you think a bit about how these companies try to connect with fans, right?
Exactly. So let's get into it. Kylie Ray, she's been around the scene for a while, especially if you follow wrestling beyond just the really big promotion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she really built up a following on the independent circuit first. Solid fan base there. And people might remember her brief run in AEW as well, which definitely got her more eyeballs.
True.
So it says a lot that she officially landed in WWE last year. Yeah. Came through their WWE ID program.
Okay, the ID program, that's the identify and develop thing, right? For scouting new talent?
That's the one. Yeah, basically their system for bringing in promising wrestlers.
And didn't she have some exposure to the WWE system even before signing that deal? Something about EVLAE.
Yeah, good point. The article mentions her debut in EVLVE.
Okay.
Which, you know, used to have that working relationship with WWE. So that was probably an early look, a way for both sides to kind of test the waters.
Makes sense.
And since officially signing, yeah, she's been competing, getting reps in, working within their development system.
Which leads us nicely to the main news here from the article, her match on the May 21st EVLVE show. And it wasn't just any match, it was a fatal four-way. That sounds chaotic.
Yeah, those can be pretty wild. Lots going on. She was in there with, let's see, Aria Bennett, Chantel Monroe, and Zeta Steele.
Quite the lineup. Different styles in there, I imagine.
For sure. And, well, the big news from that match.
She won.
She got the victory. Yeah, pulled it up.
That feels like a pretty significant moment for her in WWE, wouldn't you say? Getting a win like that.
Definitely a notable win. You'd think it gives her a nice bit of momentum, maybe raises her profile a bit within within the system.
Right.
But beyond just the match result, WWE did something kind of interesting during the entrances. They shared these little personal facts about the wrestlers.
Ah, okay, this is the part I was curious about. So WWE is giving little behind-the-scenes glimpses during the show itself?
Seems like it. Yeah, trying to add a bit more personality, maybe help fans connect beyond just the in-ring character.
Interesting tactic.
So, for the others in the match, Zeta Steele, they mentioned she wants to host Evolve's first talk show someday.
Okay, ambitious.
Aria Bennett, her fun fact was that she's actually a personal trainer for T.I. and Tiny.
Wow, the hip-hop artists. Okay.
Yep. And Chantel Monroe, they shared her motto, prim, proper, and prissy.
Huh. Memorable, I guess. Gives you a vibe.
Definitely gives you a vibe. But then came Kylie Ray's.
The hobby reveal. What was it?
They put it up on the screen during her entrance.
Mm.
She enjoys wandering to the dessert aisle at grocery stores.
Get out. Just
Yeah.
wandering the dessert aisle.
That's what they shared. Just enjoying the stroll, looking at all the options, I guess.
That's surprisingly normal and actually, yeah, really relatable.
Isn't it? Like, who hasn't done that? Just kind of browsing the cakes and cookies?
Totally. It does make her seem very down to earth, doesn't it? It's not some extreme sport or high-flying hobby.
Not at all. It's
Yeah.
just liking the dessert aisle. Which, makes you wonder why WWE chose that specifically to highlight.
Yeah, what's the thinking there? Is it a deliberate move to, like, humanize the wrestlers more, show a softer side?
Could be. It's definitely different from just focusing on athletic achievements or, kayfabe rivalries.
And it sounds like it resonated because the article mentions fans picked up on it online.
Oh, yeah. A fan pointed it out on X, Twitter.
Yeah.
And Kylie Ray actually responded herself.
Oh, she did? What'd she say?
She replied with a crying laughing emoji, basically saying something like, yeah, can you blame me? Look at all the options. Super relatable response.
That's perfect.
The article even links to the tweet so you can see that interaction. It feels pretty genuine.
It really does. It's funny how those small, seemingly insignificant moments can sometimes build more connection than a big scripted speech,
Totally agree. It kind of strips away the pro wrestler persona for a second and just shows a person with a simple pleasure, like anyone else.
Exactly. Just someone who likes looking at cake.
Right. And maybe, thinking bigger picture, this suggests WWE is trying out different ways to get fans invested, moving beyond just the matches and the storylines.
Focusing more on the individuals, their personalities.
Perhaps highlighting these relatable quirks could be a strategy to build like a broader connection, maybe attract fans who appreciate that human element.
Interesting angle. Okay, let's quickly credit the source properly. The article itself was written by Ojas Kulkarni.
Yep, Ojas Kulkarni. The piece identifies him as a pro wrestling writer for Evolve Media.
Yeah.
Seems like he covers both WWE and AEW pretty closely.
And sounds like he's got wider interests, too.
Yeah, mentions he's into other sports, cricket, Formula One plus gaming and entertainment generally. So probably brings a broad perspective.
Good context.
And just for clarity, WrestleZone itself is part of Evolve Media Holdings, LLC, so established outlet.
Got it. Okay, so let's kind of wrap up what we pulled from this deep dive. We looked at Kylie Ray's path, Indies, AEW briefly, then landing in WWE via the ID program.
We covered her recent big win in that fatal four-way on Evolve VE. Definitely a positive step for her.
And then the really memorable bit, WWE highlighting her hobby. Just enjoying a walk down the grocery store dessert aisle.
Yeah, that unexpected kind of charming detail. And her funny, relatable reaction to it online.
So what's the bigger takeaway here? Why is this interesting beyond just being a fun fact?
Well, like we touched on, it might signal a slight shift, or at least an experiment, in how wrestling promotions build fan engagement. Are they trying to lean more into the relatability of their performers?
Moving beyond the larger-than-life characters sometimes.
They be balancing it out, yeah. Showing these everyday human sides to connect on a different level. It definitely raises questions about how they're trying to shape the fan experience.
It really does. And honestly, it just makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what other everyday, maybe slightly odd hobbies do these incredible athletes have?
Exactly. So maybe the final thought for you listening is, think about that impact. Does knowing this little detail about Kylie Ray, change your perception of her at all? Does it make her more relatable?
Yeah, and maybe think about the people you follow or admire. What hidden everyday interests might they have that make them seem more, well, normal?
Definitely something interesting to chew on. Okay, so Lesnar world champ in WWE.
Huge draw. Always has been.
He last wrestled SummerSlam, August 2023, against Cody Rhodes.
That felt like quite a definitive moment at the time, actually.
It did. And then, there was all that buzz about him maybe coming back for the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah. The men's rumble in January seemed like a lock for a while.
But, well, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that is really what we're digging into today. Why he's been gone, what this new look might signal.
Or might not signal.
Exactly.
Wow.
And what our sources, mostly wrestling news sites, are actually saying about where things stand.
We're trying to sort of piece together the reliable info. Yeah. Cut through some of the noise.
That's the mission. Get you up to speed on the key bits without you having to wade through everything yourself.
Because in wrestling, presentation is it's everything. Hair, gear, entrance. It all builds the character, the story.
Totally. So this longer hair, it's not just like a trivial thing for the hardcore fan base.
No way. It's a data point. Something to analyze.
So these photos popped up on, I think, an Instagram account, @BrockleSnarWorldLearn.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's where they surfaced.
And the fan reaction online was, well, pretty immediate, wasn't it?
Oh, instant speculation. Is he coming back? Is this the return look?
It's that visual cue, right? It just feeds the rumor mill.
And you see this all the time. Fans are like detectives, especially when the company itself isn't saying much.
They'll pick apart anything. A haircut becomes a potential clue.
A major clue, potentially.
But, okay, the reason his Rumble return got scrapped and why he's been MIA since SummerSlam, it's heavier than just a hairstyle change.
Yeah, the sources are pretty consistent on this point.
They point directly to reports linking Lesnar